Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Layla and the topic for today's TikTok Tuesday is retirement. This topic was actually requested in the comments, so if you do have any requests for topics that you want me to cover for TikTok Tuesdays, just let me know down below. So thank you for the request, and actually specifically she had said those nearing retirement who do not have enough saved. So those who are late 50s or in their 60s and they are not prepared financially to retire. But when I was searching for TikToks related to that specifically, I had a hard time finding that. A lot of them were like some older folks who were promoting, I don't know, some sort of like online job. It sounded really scammy. It was like these 60 plus, 70 plus year olds that I could tell were reading a script. Like, all the power to them for being on TikTok and creating content and probably making money by promoting whatever they're promoting. But I could tell they were like reading it and it was like, comment yes so I can give you the information, or comment retirement. So it was kind of hard to find TikToks specifically about people who are near retirement and not prepared for it and their experiences. So this is kind of just covering TikToks about retirement, and you'll see what we get into. So let's just go ahead and get started.
I wanted to follow up with a post that I did recently about leaving my job. And I learned a couple things from that video. And if you haven't seen it, it was before this one, so you can go and check it out. But basically, I left my job at 62. And from all of the comments, and people were so lovely, a lot of people assumed that I retired. And the reality is that I did not retire. I took a new job, and I will probably never be able to retire. I went through a divorce in my later 50s and had to start over. So even though I can't retire, what I can do is I can reinvent. I can reinvent myself as many times as I choose, as I need to, as I want to. And I just want to say that your job is not everything. And I do get that for some people, maybe it has to be at this point in time, as mine was. But there's so many different things that you could do to make your life a little more enjoyable and not be taken down by your job. And that was really what I did. I just took my power back and I found another job. And I just wanted to say that I think that we can all do this at any point in our lives. And I believe it, and that's how I'll live the rest of my life. And I don't even know if I would want to retire if I could. Well, I suppose it would be nice.
I really love her mindset. I think this is great. I did not see the first video that she was talking about, but I guess she said that she left her job and then did not actually retire. She's 62 years old, but she didn't retire. She switched jobs and got a different one. And she mentioned, I wanted to include this one because she mentions a couple of things. Got divorced in her late 50s. And that can really mess people up financially. And anything can mess people up financially. So you can be prepared for your whole life, and just depending on the decisions you make and how the finances are handled by yourself or with a partner, things can get messy from, whether it's a divorce, from children getting sick, from yourself getting sick, from a job loss, from some major house catastrophe. Like, all these things could happen and you just never really know. The best thing that we can do is try our best to be in control with all of that and prepare as best as we can. Obviously, the more money that you have for retirement, the safer you're going to feel and you're less likely to be in like a harder situation. But I really respect her transparency around this and saying like, hey, I had a divorce toward the end of my 50s, and I'm assuming she maybe had a different financial plan then, and because of that, she does not have that retirement plan anymore. And this can look different for different people. This is the importance of things like prenups and conversations and just making sure that you are marrying the right person. Sometimes people change those, so we never really know what to expect. But yes, that's the first thing, is divorce can really mess people up. So that's why just making sure that if you're in a relationship, that you kind of have things set to benefit yourself, but and the both of you, so that things don't go crazy when the time comes, or if the time comes. And then I love that she is talking about just like enjoying the journey. And she says that maybe she'll never be able to retire and she's just going to keep on working, but trying to find something that is enjoyable, a little bit fulfilling, or just not as bad as some of the jobs that people take on. So I think you're going to see throughout this video the importance of just taking care of your finances and kind of starting young, getting ahead when you're young, because of these later life decisions. And there's actually a third thing here that I want to call out. So she mentions how people can pivot, but she looks like she takes care of herself, and that's a big thing too. I think there's going to be some other TikToks where this comes up, because your health is so important. Obviously, when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, it's a bit easier to just be healthy without even much effort. But once you get later in life, you've really got to be more intentional about it. I do think it's important to start when you're young and make that a big priority. But if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond, prioritizing your health is huge, because you can prevent medical ailments. I mean, not always, but you can try your best to do so. Making sure you're mobile, able to walk on your own, so you don't have to have any sort of care, or at least minimal care. And then if you need to make money in your 60s and 70s, you want to be able to work. And if you have a medical issue that could have been prevented, then it may be hard for you to do so. So yeah, I really liked the positivity in this TikTok and the idea of reinventing, because I think a lot of people later in life feel like their life is over, and that's not true. Like, you can literally reinvent yourself when you're 85 and, start a little business, or just start working at a job that maybe it's not the most exciting thing, but it's a little bit more fulfilling or just enjoyable. And maybe you're not able to fully retire or retire at all, but you can kind of just not feel dread about your day-to-day life.
Gen Xers, when are we retiring? I was at a brunch this weekend, and one of our friends asked the group that, and all of us kind of looked at each other, because I think it's different when even our parents were working. My dad is still kind of working. He's driving a school bus. He's 78 years old, and he gets up in the morning and drives a school bus for the town that he lives in, and he loves it. My grandparents lived on my dad's side until their mid-90s, and my grandmother lived until she was almost 90, and that's a long time to be kicking around not doing anything. So my answer to her was, I'm not retiring. But I wonder about you guys. What are you thinking? Are we retiring?
So first, I want to say I think it's interesting when people think retirement just means you don't do anything. I think some people enjoy work, and that's fine. Like, if you enjoy a 9 to 5 or just going to work, that is fine. But if you don't have any hobbies outside of work and then you retire, yeah, that like, you're not going to enjoy retirement. It's not fun to just watch TV. Maybe you may think that now, you want to have some days where you just rot on the couch or lay in bed and read a book or just drink your coffee and not have anything to do, no responsibilities. But that is going to get boring really, really quickly. But your retirement ideally wouldn't look like that. Like, if you don't have a list of things that you would want to do in retirement, I think you shouldn't retire, because then you will lose like that sense of purpose or fulfillment. And that's when, I know there's like studies out there that show people retire and then they pass because of their lack of doing stuff. And you've got to have stuff to do. Like, there's always stuff to do. And I have so many things that I would enjoy doing if I had nothing to, like, no money to make. But anyways, I wanted to include this one in here because I wanted to read the comments. So she's asking, Gen X, when are we retiring? Somebody said, when we die at our desk. Hate to see that, y'all. I hate to see that. I think we should reframe. When do you plan on transitioning to less than full-time work? Yeah, I think that's going to be the reality for a lot of people. It is right now. Instead of full-time jobs, they have part-time jobs or seasonal in order to supplement retirement and Social Security. About 15 minutes before my funeral. I want 58, but probably 60. Okay. Still trying to find a career, not retiring till I fall over dead. Never. Did it 4 years ago, life's too short. Someone said 60. I'm 63 with kids still at home. I'm 56, no plan to anytime soon, maybe my late 60s. Probably when I die. 65, yeah, never. Hopefully this year, 57. I did it 54. Seeing a mix of things, which I'm glad to see. Some people are saying younger than traditional retirement age. I retired at 53 and thoroughly enjoy finally being able to choose my days. Love that. On my end, it really depends on the future of the government right now. I might have to wait till I'm 70 at this point. As a super saver, I retired at 40, but just to low stress gig work. I enjoy the activity without the high stress of a corporate job. Yep, just like what the last lady was talking about. So there's quite a few comments on here. I'll stop there. But yeah, I just wanted to see what people were saying. Like I just said, I think it's sad to see people saying never or right before I die. Like that is not the point of life. I think life in itself is this, not to go down a rabbit hole because I'm not going to, but life is weird, and we are brought into this world. Basically, we are brought into this world, and the way that it carries out is just, it's so interesting to me, the whole aspect of life and what is expected from life, you know. But to me, the point of life is not just working. And in America, especially, it can kind of feel like that. Like we are just put into this society, into this system where it's like, hey, you go to school, they train you to become a 9-to-5 worker, and that's just what's expected of you. And I think breaking that norm, I love that that's continuing to be broken, and more people are realizing the importance of actually living life. And for those people who are saying never or when I die, I would love to see what their finances look like what they're spending their money on, how much debt they have, what caused that debt, what their careers are, just their financial habits, because I think some people also think that they're never going to retire because they don't have enough money or they can't save. And sure, that can be the case for a lot of people, but it's also not the case for so many people. It just takes some intentionality and discipline and new habits around your finances. Y'all know. Quickly, I'm going to interrupt here to say that a must-have in retirement is a solid and comfortable recliner chair. And that's exactly what I'm sitting on right now. So big thank you to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. Obviously, anyone of any age can enjoy a good reclining chair, and FlexiSpot is doing it right. Now, FlexiSpot is actually the desk that I have. I bought that years ago on my own. I've also worked with them before and got another desk that I gifted to my sister. And now we've got this amazing swivel and rocking reclining chair. So this is super easy to assemble. I actually recorded the whole thing. It took us less than 15 minutes to put together. It's also oversized. So I'm a tiny person, so it works perfect. Any chair honestly will work perfectly for me, but this can hold up to 350 pounds. And those of you who like to sit on your feet or sit cross-legged, lie down even, this is the chair for you. They also have a few different colors for you to choose from, as well as different materials. This one is in the color beige, and the material is faux leather, which is awesome because you can easily wipe up anything. If you make any spills, drop any food, you can just wipe it off and you are good to go. And I feel like with this color, it's, you know, timeless. It will fit in any space, so that's why I chose this one. It's very soft to the touch, and there is enough padding in the back and in the seat. It's just very comfy all around. This is a manual recline, so you just pull a lever and then you can make your way back. There's also a hidden storage compartment, which is really nice, so you can hold your books, hold your magazines, hold a little blanket if you wanted to. So if you are looking for a high quality but affordable recliner for your living room, for your bedroom, your nursery, for your office, then definitely check out FlexiSpot. I will have a discount code in my description below, as well as a link for you to purchase from. So thank you again to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video, and happy lounging.
Welcome to a day in my life as a 55-year-old retiree. I usually get up around 6:30 and out of bed by 7. The first thing I like to do is work out. I'm so happy that I found this step aerobics class on the Mirror, because back in the 80s, I was so into step. I try to work out with weights, do some sit-ups, and end with a little bit of plank. Got really lucky today because my husband brought me a coffee from Starbucks, which is my favorite. decided to go chill on the porch because it's so beautiful out there, and started to think about what kind of TikToks I could make, because making TikToks has become one of my hobbies. I got a little itchy because I got attacked by a brown tail moth. And did you know that calamine lotion now comes in a spray can? Got a little hungry, made myself a shake, and my husband and I decided to do a project today. Actually, I wanted to put lights down to the lake, so of course I needed his help. So we spent the day doing that. We actually, mid-project, we had to go back to the hardware store to get a few more things. We finally finished the lights around dusk, and then decided to go down by the lake where we saw a really cool blue heron.
Okay, I wanted to include this one because I just think it's very uplifting and could be encouraging for people who are in that thought process of like, I never want to retire. And your days don't need to consist of crazy things when you retire, but think of those projects that have been sitting undone in your house or in your mind or on your laptop, and being able to do those things. Like, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I put the garden together, or went through my things and cleaned X, or redecorated, blah, blah, blah. I love this too because she's mid-50s, retired early, clearly, and it looks like she's staying in shape, which we've already talked about, but just so important to prioritize your health for your whole entire life, especially as you get older. And then I love that she's just like taking time to enjoy her coffee and sit on the porch. Like, that is, as somebody who now has basically full control of their time, which I'm so very grateful for. I quit my job about a year ago. The slow mornings and the ability to like read a book midday and not have any responsibilities that are not decisions that I made, it's truly priceless. Like, I can't express to you how important that has been to me, and that's the whole point of me wanting to leave my job. You know, I'm obviously not retired by any means. I still need to do something to generate money so I can pay for what I need to pay for, but just that time control and flexibility, I love it. I love it so, so much, and I think this is a great example of what retirement could look like. This is just one day in her life, and they're just getting stuff done around the house, prioritizing health. They went down to the lake, and that's really great for your mental health. They probably cook dinner together, enjoy some dinner, maybe watch a movie at night. Like, yeah, there's so much that you can do in actual retirement, and I like to see this. Oh, I also like that she is creating content on TikTok and found that as a hobby. Eventually she maybe could monetize it, or maybe she already is, I don't know. But just finding a hobby that is still fulfilling to you and gives you that purpose is so important when you retire as well.
We've all heard the anecdote about the person who retired and died a year or 2 years later. That anecdote kind of irritates me. I'm not irritated with the people who tell it because they're just telling their story. I'm irritated by how it gets interpreted. Correlation doesn't equal causations. Yes, you can correlate the time of death with the date of retirement, but one didn't necessarily cause the other. Most of the time, that person was probably going to pass when they passed, and they just retired when they did. For my part, if I died tomorrow, I wouldn't be sitting around salty about how I only, quote unquote, got 2 years of retirement. I would look at it like, I got 2 amazing years, 2 more years than 98% of the world ever get. Every year of retirement I get is a gift, and I'm going to appreciate it.
So I mentioned this before, where people will, some cases that people retire and then they pass after a couple of years. And I think I think he's right in saying that it could have just been the time that that person is passing. But I know I keep coming back to this, but having something to do in retirement is a big part of it. You know, you do have to have some fulfillment and purpose. I want to see what the comments said in this one. Well said, everyone's situation is different, so enjoy whatever works for you. A more realistic concern, in my opinion, is living to 100 plus and running out of money at 85. Really good way to look at it. It's definitely a gift. This I appreciate because it does come to my mind because I heard it many times. I am to retire next Friday. I am thrilled. To each their own. I know people in late 60s still working who are the happiest people. Mom worked until 70, passed 6 months later. Cancer. I think you make a great point. Yeah, I'm getting out. I intended to go longer, but my beloved sister died unexpectedly last year, and it has brought me tremendous clarity. Yeah, everybody's situation is different, like that comment said, so it just depends on how you look at things, I suppose.
So waking up broke at 50 is not a nice feeling. It's embarrassing, you know. It's embarrassing. And there's a lot of shame attached to that as well. But, you know, for a lot of us, myself included, this is the reality. I remember reading a book years ago by an author called Jim Rohn. He's like a self-development, personal development speaker. And it was in a book, I can't remember the name of the book now. And there's a line it's saying, you know, you wake up, you know, broken, embarrassed at 50. And I thought at the time, I was probably early 40s, I thought, that's never going to be me. But guess what? I did. It did. And I can look back and I can talk about all the stupid things I did and all the, you know, the decisions I made that have got me to this point, but it's not going to do me any good, is it? That's the reality. And it's the reality, unfortunately, for many of us. So what do? Well, we can put our head in the sand and just keep hoping that things will get better, which they're not. And think maybe something's going to save us. The government, they're not. Or we can just start today to start taking control. I still firmly believe with the right plan and the discipline and the focus, we can get out of this. But it's not going to be easy. But waiting around another year, another 2 years is not going to help. So we just got to make the commitment, make that decision today. Start saving. Start getting rid of that debt. Start learning how to invest your money. Start managing your money better. And just generally cut back on all the crappy spending and stuff that we don't need. You know, take pleasure in the simple things. But the main thing is just start. Just stop putting this off. Accept the reality of what's happening to you and get started. Hope that helps, guys. And yeah.
Yep, just start. Important words of advice. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today, as they say. I don't know who says, but you've probably heard that quote before, and it is so true. And at the age of 50 or 55, even 60, if you don't have anything for retirement, there's no point of still just putting it off. Like, try your best to get control of your money. Start saving, pay down the debt, start investing, all of that stuff, because at least something is better than nothing. And when you're 50 and, you know, the retirement age is going to increase. The life expectancy is increasing, you know, and so that's going to push out traditional retirement age too. And a lot of people will be working anyway till the age of 70. So if you are 50 and you're just starting to pay attention to your money, then that gives you 20 years of building, and your money can go pretty far during 20 years. And of course, it would have been better if you started in your 20s or in your 30s, but starting today is your next best time, because that's all you have. There's no point of worrying about the past. You can say, I wish I did, I should have, I would have done that, but blah, blah, blah. But that's not important. You've got to just start with what you have today. And I love that he is saying this. I love that he is being transparent about it and putting it on the internet and saying, hey, I was lazy about it. I made poor choices. Also, he mentioned Jim Rohn. Love Jim Rohn. He's awesome. And yeah, sounds like he's doing something about it, and that's exactly how it should be handled.
Listen, I'm 59 years old, and I don't know when it hit me, but there was a time, there was a certain point in my life where I realized, hey, this is what it is. This is as good as it gets. You're basically you're in this system. You have to suck it up. You have to suck up to your bosses. You have to do things you don't want to do every day. Work for people you don't want to work for every day. Yeah, that's the way it is. There's nothing else you could do. That's it. And maybe if you're really lucky, you have enough at the end of it all, you know, where you don't, you have enough to live, that they're not going to throw you in some nursing home. God forbid. Because I saw that happen to my parents. God rest their souls. That's it. These amazing dreams you had as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, they're not going to happen.
This one's very negative. So first of all, he says he's 59. He looks 40 to me, which is incredible. I don't know if it's the hat that's throwing it off, but he does not look 59 whatsoever. This is another one that makes me sad, and it's what he's saying is exactly why I left the corporate world and working for other people. And I know that's not something that works for everybody, but I know that when I started my first career, and even before that, just like working jobs, anytime I was working under other people, I remember thinking to myself, early 20s, mid 20s, like there's no way I can do this until I'm 60. There's just no way. I can't. I'm not doing it. So that's why I've made the series of decisions that I've made in my life to get to this point, because it just wasn't going to slide for me, you know? And I think this is really sad for people to get to this point. And, you know, there's never going to be a perfect job. And, you know, not everybody can be self-employed. There's jobs out there that have to be worked, and entrepreneurship and other things, like just doing what you love doesn't work for everybody. And that's fine. But I think some years of sacrifice, like maybe working a decade or so at a job you really hate, but it's making you more money, and putting that money to work, this is why I like the FIRE movement, financial independence, retire early, because that's kind of what they promote. And even if you don't want to retire early, but just to give yourself options, following that path is so helpful. So you may be at a job that you hate and despise and dread for 5 years, 10 years, but if you are taking advantage of that job and leveraging the benefits, making sure you're maxing out whatever you need to max out as far as your retirement and investments go, saving your money, maybe if you want to build something on your own, you're doing that in the background. And then after that, once you get to a point where you have a decent amount saved and invested, you can switch to a job that is more fulfilling and brings you happiness, and maybe you don't have to work full time. So no, your job maybe will not get better, but you can sacrifice and make a series of decisions and then reinvent yourself, like the first woman was saying, or just kind of switch gears when the time is right. Hopefully that all makes sense, but really what I'm getting at is nobody is stuck. I'm sure some people are, you know, some people are, but for the most part, like if you are watching this video, you are not stuck. It's just, you're not. So this made me sad to see, and hopefully he has been saving and investing and can get to that point of retirement and find his happiness.
I had a conversation with my dad, and I asked him when my grandpa retired. My grandpa retired at 55. I said, wow, you're 10 years older and you can afford to retire. And then they just want to increase the retirement age, which I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong here, would then push back the age of Social Security and push back the age so we can start utilizing 401ks and IRAs. I just want to reiterate this. So my grandpa retired at 55 years old and supported himself for 30 years. 30 years before he died.
Times were different for our parents, for our grandparents, our great-grandparents, for sure. And I will not take that that's not the case. You know, I will not hear that's not true, because if you look at the cost of living and compared to the income and wages and such compared to back then, it's not the same. It's like night and day, you know? So buying a home back then with a lower salary was more feasible compared to now because of inflation and the cost of everything, the cost of goods. So I do think it's harder to get ahead and to save for retirement right now. But this is why you just gotta start as young as you can and try your best to make smart decisions around finances and build the positive financial habits. I fully recognize that things are more tough for people these days, but making videos like this and people commenting like just negative things on it too, not to her, but I'm 57, I'll die on the job, I'll drop dead at work. Oh, here's a good one. My grandfather did the same at 55. I did it at 57. It's doable, just plan for it. So, and then somebody else said, there are many factors that allow someone to retire early, most controlled by the person. However, it certainly is much more difficult these days. So yes, it's more difficult, but it's not impossible. And at least I think sometimes people will think, oh, what's the point? Like, I'm not going to do that whatsoever because, you know, what's the point of $20 versus $0, you know? But that is something at least. And that's obviously me just giving a dramatic example, but you're going to be better off by having something instead of doing absolutely nothing. Just thinking this way and comparing those things, it's unhelpful. Like, yes, we can recognize it, but control what you can control, do what you can with what you've got, and make changes if necessary.
One of the most difficult things about being Gen X and growing up with aging parents is seeing where you're at in your own personal life, right? And then seeing what 30 years in the future is going to look like for you. I know for me, it's been super difficult to like wrap my mind around how hard I'm working, what I'm doing in order to just like feed my family, in order to have that better future, but also seeing that future through the lens of my parents. And it's very difficult to see like, how does this equate? Because for the longest time, I always looked at retirement as this golden pie in the sky sort of ideal that is out there that like one day I would get to. One day, if I just worked really hard, I would get to. And I am on that path, but seeing what that actually means is like mind-boggling to me, because there's maybe, if you're lucky, like 10 years where you're active, wanting to do stuff, and that you're not like cranky. So I don't know, is anyone else going through this? Because like it's
Yep. Again, this is another reason why I chose the path that I chose and worked so hard while I could to get to this point. I really wanted to pursue Slow-Fi, which is actually something I first heard of in the last few years. But that's slow financial independence. And instead of me investing heavily and saving heavily, I was trying my best, but I got out of debt and all of that and set myself up to where I felt pretty financially comfortable. But now I am doing things that are fulfilling. I enjoy my life. I can take my time with things and I don't have to work under anybody. But at the same time, I am still making enough money to support myself, but also invest a little bit, save a little bit. And yeah, it's so much better to do this because I want to live my life. I don't want to just spend every waking hour working, and then following my routines, like going to the gym, eating dinner. Like, it's just, for me, that was just really hard to go through. And I knew that by pursuing Slow-Fi, I could just live life. And I'd look into it. If you haven't heard of Slow-Fi, I think it's a great option for a lot of people. Okay, I'm gonna stop that in case the music, I don't want to get copyright, but when your parents are in their late 50s with no retirement plan, no healthcare, no savings, and you are stressed about how to support them while supporting yourself. And this is a problem. I know it is. I think there's two things kind of going on. I think a lot of parents are supporting their children too much. And I'm not a parent, so I know, like, who am I to say any of this, but y'all know how I feel about retirement and supporting your children. Like, if you do not have your retirement set, then you should not be like super supporting your adult children. Obviously, if something major happens and they're about to like face homelessness or whatever the case may be, that's different. Or if you're just letting them live with you, that's great. I think that can help a ton. But actually giving them money to go on vacations or even to pay for their schooling or buying groceries or food out, like, put yourself first, because otherwise you're going to get to retirement and your children are going to have to support you financially. And this is what happens. That is stressful for people. And I would rather parents and older adults to be prepared financially so that they don't depend on their children, because your children did not ask to come into this world. You brought them here. So yes, technically it's your responsibility to help them, raise them, support them financially, but they will be fine. Like, if you can teach them about money and being responsible about money, they can get themselves out of it at the age of 25, 35, 40. But when you're 70 and you have no money, that's going to be harder for you to come out on top. Reading some of the comments here makes you feel like your life isn't your own. As the eldest daughter, this straight stresses me out. They're now in their late 60s, have no retirement plan, no healthcare, no savings, yet I'm only 25 years old. God bless to all sons raising their parents alone. This is also one of the reasons why younger generations are child-free and are not getting married. They are now 70, no retirement plan, no healthcare, no savings. I am 25. It scares me. There are countless nights where I just stare at nothingness, trying to grasp my reality. Crying because the situation forced me to become childless and single until the end. I have siblings to send to school too. Wow, this makes me really sad to see. This is true, especially in the Philippines. I saw somewhere also, somebody also mentioned in Indonesia, this is very common. So it looks like a worldwide thing. Of course, I've told my parents about this and they don't care if they have a job or not, so I don't care either. If they don't care about themselves, I won't stress myself about it. It's their choice, sorry. I thought I was alone in this, but I feel a little bit better now that I see there's people out there in the same situation. It's worse being their only child as well, because it's so much pressure to deal with alone. The level of anxiety I experience every day because of this reality. The comments just go on and on, y'all. Like, I could just keep reading these, and this truly makes me so sad. So I'm gonna stop there, but yeah, just you can see, in general, the importance of financial literacy, financial education, healthy financial habits. Yeah, I hope that more people will continue to improve their money situations or learn about finances. I think it is becoming less of a taboo topic, but it's still something that so many people are struggling with, obviously. And you might be 25 right now, 30, 35, 40, but the time is going fast and you will eventually, super grateful, of course, that you get to age. I think it's a beautiful thing, but the time is going to go fast and you've got to be prepared. So budget, track your spending, invest your money, pay off your debt, work on increasing your income while you can still enjoy life, y'all. You can still spend money, but build the healthy financial habits and just make it a part of your lifestyle. Let me know your thoughts on retirement or if any of these TikToks stood out to you. But otherwise, thank y'all so much for watching. I would really appreciate it if you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next one.